Hi everyone, this is Elaine. Welcome to Flat Earth for Dummies 101. Definition of dummy, indoctrinated in globe from birth. A spinning globe is only true in fairy tales. Only the truth will set you free. The lies were out to get me, to feast upon my brain. Freemasonic wormholes were to blame. Then I saw the way. Now I'm a flat earther. There is no curve, no globe in my mind. The earth is flat. We're the believers, don't eat the deceivers, those who lie. I thought the globe was more or less a given thing. The more I saw, the more was fake. Was the moon a junkyard, the ISS a sham? When I wanted answers, I got spam. Then I saw the way. Now I'm a flat earther. There is no curve, no globe in my mind. The earth is flat. We're the believers, don't eat the deceivers, those who lie.
If the Earth were truly a globe, the Arctic and Antarctic polar regions and areas of comparable latitude north and south of the equator should share similar conditions and characteristics such as comparable temperatures, seasonal changes, length of daylight, plant and animal life. In reality, however, the Arctic and Antarctic regions and areas of comparable latitude north and south of the equator differ greatly in many ways. Thomas Winship says, "If the Earth be the globe of popular belief, the same amount of heat and cold, summer and winter, should be experienced at the same latitudes north and south of the equator. The same number of plants and animals would be found, and the same general conditions exist. That the very opposite is the case disproves the globular assumption. The great contrasts between places at the same latitudes north and south of the equator is a strong argument against the received doctrine of the rotundity of the Earth. Antarctica is by far the coldest place on Earth, with an average annual temperature of approximately -57 degrees Fahrenheit and a record low of 135.8. The average annual temperature at the North Pole, however, is a comparatively warm 4 degrees. Throughout the year, temperatures in the Antarctic vary less than half the amount at comparable Arctic latitudes. The northern Arctic region enjoys moderately warm summers and manageable winters, whereas the southern Antarctic region never even warms enough to melt the perpetual snow and ice." Thomas Winship wrote, "This uniformity of temperature partly accounts for the great accumulation of ice which is formed, not on account of the great severity of the winter, but because there is practically no summer to melt it. In the Antarctic there is eternal winter, and snow never melts. As far north as a man has traveled, he has found reindeer and hare basking in the sun, and country brilliant with rich flora. Within the Antarctic Circle, no plant is to be found. The island of Kerguelen at 49 degrees southern latitude has only 18 species of native plants that can survive its hostile climate. Compare this with the island of Iceland at 65 degrees northern latitude. 16 degrees further north of the equator than Kerguelen is south, yet Iceland is home to 870 species of native plants. On the Isle of Georgia, just 54 degrees southern latitude, the same latitude as Canada or England in the north, where dense forests of various tall trees abound, the infamous Captain Cook wrote that he was unable to find a single shrub large enough to make a toothpick. Cook wrote, "Not a tree was to be seen. The lands which lie to the south are doomed by nature to perpetual frigidness, never to feel the warmth of the sun's rays, whose horrible and savage aspect I have not words to describe. Even marine life is sparse in certain tracts of vast extent, and the seabird is seldom observed flying over such lonely wastes. The contrasts between the limits of organic life in Arctic and Antarctic zones is very remarkable and significant. Vegetables and land animals are found at nearly 80 degrees in the north, while from the parallel of 58 degrees in the south, the lichen and such-like plants only clothe the rocks, and seabirds and the cetaceous tribes alone are seen upon the desolate beaches. In the Arctic there are 4 clearly distinguished seasons, warm summers, and an abundance of plant and animal life, none of which can be said of the Antarctic. In the flat Earth model of the cosmos, these Arctic and Antarctic phenomena are easily accounted for and exactly what would be expected. If the sun circles over and around the Earth every 24 hours, steadily traveling from tropic to tropic every 6 months, it follows that the northern, central region would annually receive far more heat and sunlight than the southern circumferential region. Since the sun must sweep over the larger southern region in the same 24 hours it has to pass over the smaller northern region, its passage must necessarily be proportionally faster as well. This is why the Antarctic morning dawn and evening twilight are very abrupt, whereas in extreme north, twilight continues for hours after sunset, and many midsummer nights the sun does not set at all. Dr. Samuel Robotham said, "If the sun is fixed and the earth revolves underneath it, the same phenomena would exist at the same distance on each side of the equator. But such is not the case. What can operate to cause the twilight in New Zealand to be so much more sudden, or the nights so much colder than in England? The southern hemisphere cannot revolve more rapidly than the northern. The latitudes are about the same, and the distance round a globe would be the same at 50 degrees south as at 50 degrees north, and as the whole would revolve once in 24 hours, the surface at the 2 places would pass underneath the sun with the same velocity, and the light would approach in the morning, and recede in the evening in exactly the same manner. Yet the very contrary is the fact. The constant sunlight of the north develops, with the utmost rapidity, numerous forms of vegetable life, and furnishes subsistence for millions of living creatures. But in the south, where the sunlight never dwells, or lingers about a central region, but rapidly sweeps over sea and land, to complete in 24 hours the great circle of the southern circumference, it has not time to excite and stimulate the surface, and therefore, even in comparatively low southern latitudes, everything wears an aspect of desolation. These differences in the north and south could not exist if the earth were a globe, turning upon axes underneath a non-moving sun. The 2 hemispheres would at the same latitudes have the same degree of light and heat, and the same general phenomena, both in kind and degree. The peculiarities which are found in the south as compared with the north are only such as could exist upon a stationary plane, having a northern center, concentric with which is the path of the moving sun." And William Carpenter wrote, "Every year the sun is as long south of the equator as he is north, and if the earth were not stretched out as it is, in fact, but turned under, as the Newtonian theory suggests, it would certainly get as intensive a share of the sun's rays south as north, but the southern region being, in consequence of the fact stated, far more extensive than the region north, the sun, having to complete his journey round every 24 hours, travels quicker as he goes further south, from September to December, and his influence has less time in which to accumulate at any given point. Since, then, the facts could not be as they are if the earth were a globe, it is a proof that the earth is not a globe."
Let's end a little convenient lie that science has been telling us all. It is the myth of the seasons of the globe. And to help me out and tell us all the current scientific facts, here's Mr. Clown himself, Fraser Tubal King.
What causes the seasons? So if it's not the distance from the sun, why do we experience seasons? We have seasons because the Earth's axis is tilted. Consider any globe you've ever used, and you'll see that instead of being straight up and down, the Earth is at a tilt of 23.5 degrees. The Earth's north pole is actually pointed towards Polaris, the North Star, and the south pole towards the constellation of Octans. At any point in its orbit, the Earth is always pointed in the same direction. For 6 months of the year, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, while the southern hemisphere is tilted away. For the next 6 months, the situation is reversed. Whichever hemisphere is tilted towards the sun experiences more energy and warms up, while the hemisphere tilted away receives less energy and cools down. This tilt also explains why the days are longer in the summer and then shorter in the winter. The longest day of summer, when the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, is known as the summer solstice. The Earth and the sun then has an effect on the intensity of the seasons. The southern hemisphere's summer happens when the Earth is closest to the sun, and their winter when the Earth is furthest from the sun. This makes their seasons even more severe.
Oh, okay, I got it. So that must mean that all the hottest temperatures on Earth must have been in the south, since that's when the sun is closer. Got it. Except for the fact that all the hottest temperatures ever recorded are in the north. None of them are in the south. Let's take a closer look at this lie. So we've all seen this before, and at first it kind of makes sense. Kind of looks like maybe the bottom is getting a little bit more sun, certainly than the top. We can see the tilt. All right, I see how it makes some sense. We can look at this other side. Does this make sense? Yeah, it looks like it. Maybe the top is getting more sun until we realize it's actually just a ball, and we get rid of the equator and get rid of the pole and realize that those pink dots and those green dots would be getting the exact same amount of sun.
A spinning globe is only true in fairy tales. Only the truth will set you free. The lies were out to get me, to feast upon my brain. Free Masonic wormholes were to blame. Then I saw the way. Now I'm a flat earther. There is no curve, no globe in my mind. The earth is flat. We're the believers, don't eat the deceivers, those who lie. I thought the globe was more or less a given thing. The more I saw, the more was fake. Was the moon a junkyard, the ISS a sham? When I wanted answers, I got spam. Then I saw the way. Now I'm a flat earther. There is no curve, no globe in my mind. The earth is flat. We're the believers, don't eat the deceivers, those who lie.